Okay, so working culture of the company is do what you can, the best that you can. For me, over the years, I've worked with different numbers of people. I've never had a team full-time. I just work per project based on what the needs are. I will pull a team together. So Hong Kong is great for that freelance culture where you can build relationships with different people in their different niches. And I think it's really important that you build those relationships so that when you do have a project that requires a bigger team, you can pull a team together to then serve your client well. For me, I've been lucky enough to set up in a way where I can produce of a quality enough content for different clients on my own. Honestly, that's the biggest thing that the clients that I've noticed over the years are always looking for is how to save on costs. And unfortunately, the people's time is your highest cost, and honestly, you can't cheap out on that. Especially if you're hiring people, you got to be able to then respectfully pay them for their time. I found the mistakes that I made is try to save costs on that area so that I can gain a bigger profit, but all that does is it leaves kind of just like a feeling of I don't want to work with you anymore. So yeah, so for me, I think again that was a mistake that I learned through doing. Unfortunately, everyone's going to come to you and say that their budget is too low to begin with. So for you, you've got to find that balance between how much are you willing to be paid for this work, or are you in a place where you're still trying to build experience? Are you working with a company that can give you the type of exposure? And I hate that so much when people say, hey, I can give you exposure in exchange of free work. I get it. But where that becomes valid is if it's a company like a huge company that you do actually want to be working more with, then you have to be able to also put yourself out there and prove yourself. Because at this point, I think a lot of people forget that when you're starting, you haven't proven anything yet, so you can't then expect people to just come at you and just pay you money and then go. You actually have to show that you can do the work that you need to do. Yeah, so being more like this word solopreneur is kind of growing at the moment, where people are building businesses where they can work with others, but it's being run and managed on their own, or in at least teams of 2 or 3. For me, on a day-to-day basis, it is mostly just me. And I think it's just, yeah, I think it's just being aware of what your own needs are, and that's why I'm not super hard on myself. You know, like I said earlier, my biggest priority is to work in such a way that I can free time for relationships. That's something that I believe that there is no greater value for. You can earn tons of money and have a stable salary and then work from Monday to Sunday like I used to do. And honestly, if you do that, it comes to a point, unless you love doing that, and there are people who love doing that, but for me, that wasn't something that I really enjoyed, and it took time away from the things that were important to me. So yeah, so then you adjust. So, all right, so plan and manage. There's 2 parts: planning and managing your projects and your shoots, and then there's planning and managing the actual business side of things. It's really important to recognize where your time goes. I think that's the biggest thing that we overlook as creatives. You have to take a really honest look at how you spend your time, especially if you work for yourself. It's very easy to lose discipline. It's very easy to think you're doing more than you actually are. I did this exercise where you audit your time and you look at how many hours you sleep, and then minus off how each hour is spent for the rest of your day until you go back to sleep. And it's amazing where you realize how much time is wasted doing things that aren't productive towards your growth or towards your business. For me, it's about recognizing where those different hours are going and then figuring out how best to then make little adjustments and improvements in order to maximize the use of your time. So I think that's the one side in terms of managing. Then you can start scheduling in time for marketing. You can start scheduling in time for your editing, scheduling in time for client relations, and then be disciplined in following through on that. It's going to be really hard at first because it's just such a new thing. But once you get into a rhythm, it's going to be just normal, like everything else is normal for you today. Yeah. Next one is, I wanted to kind of put these two together, but one is persevere, and the other one is coping with uncertainty. The reason why I picked these two and I couldn't separate these was because, honestly, when you're starting your own thing, there's so much uncertainty. There's uncertainty in terms of how you're even supposed to do things. There's uncertainty with even your own mindset and what you believe of yourself. Can you actually go out and do it? Are you good enough? All these questions and insecurities everyone faces, but I think it's persevering through those different thoughts and actually trying something new that you haven't done yet, and then learning whether, oh, I am good enough to do this, or if you're not, then learning what you can do if it's important enough for you to then improve on that. So yeah, I think these two are very, very important to just continue in terms of dealing with uncertainty, and eventually those uncertainties will just not be a big deal at all. And finally, learn through experience. This is the greatest teacher, I would say, more than all the tutorials, more than even this sharing, more than anyone else can tell you about how you should do something or what you should do about something. It's once you go and do it yourself and have the experience of making mistakes or having successes, that's the greatest teacher. I would say also, yeah, honestly, like, you can hear all these different talks. Even for me, I'll watch all these different motivational speakers or even experts in the different filmmaking fields that really inspire me, and they can tell me so much, but until I go out and try and shoot it myself in the way they tell me to, I'm not going to be able to grow as well. So yeah, take that as an encouragement to just go out and shoot and make your own mistakes, and don't be afraid of that, because experience is the greatest teacher. What does entrepreneurship mean to me? It means recognizing what the world needs and then seeing if you can go and execute on the idea to meet what the world needs. So in the case of video, I think in the age of the internet, everyone is using that as such a big part of communicating their message or their company's message or even personal message. And honestly, it's really just about taking full responsibility of your idea and then doing whatever it takes in order to execute that idea. A lot of people can think about ideas and just do nothing about it. I think entrepreneurs are the ones who recognize that they're the ones that are to execute or put the things in place in order for that idea to actually become a real thing that can serve a customer if it's a service, or even serve a customer if you're trying to create a product in that sense. So yeah, that's what entrepreneurship means to me, taking responsibility.
聽完分享啦喎，記住 scan 個 QR code， 完成 video ask 嘅問題同問卷，以完成成個 step 3嘅過程。